Hello everyone, this is Sheba. Today I'm going to talk about Psalm 140. It says, actually this is a psalm where King David, pleads with God about his enemies. And he goes little violent in this, or he portrays himself as an angry man. He also portrays himself as one who is irritated and frustrated and dejected as to why he should have so many enemies, because the Lord favored him, right? And there was a lot of confusion, and then also there was a lot of turmoil. There was a lot of sadness and grief and heaviness that was going on in David's heart. I wanted to explain this and say it in this message. And he used some King David uses some language which is, again, he's frustrated, so he uses it. He's violent, he uses it. But some theologians and some people who are, or some people or some pastors, someone, or anyone who might oppose this. And I've heard some people say that, whatever might the enemy do, we should not say anything bad to the enemy, or we should not, think about the enemy, or we should not even think about or even curse the enemy. Now, I'm not fully convinced with that kind of answers, only because even Jesus, when he was angry in the temple, he when they were selling, in the temple, in his ministry, he was so frustrated and irritated that they couldn't understand simple things of keeping the place holy. So he becomes a little violent, and he tosses the temples, he kicks the things out, and then he has everything like out. So not only that, he also, on various occasions, he's like, you brood of vipers and you are scoundrels, and he uses language like that. Now, what I'm saying is, yes, Jesus used it, so we can use. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, it is quite all right to say or curse the enemy, because the enemy is no one but Satan. Satan takes the form of human. The Lucifer takes the form of human, or the devil takes the form of human, or the demons and the evil spirits take the form of human, and they torment other people. So you need to rebuke it. You need to it says in the word that we need to rebuke it. And how do we do it? Not with flowery words, not with sweet words, or not with anything that has the Satan or the wicked things pass away. So I'm going to read Psalm 140 here, and how David deals with his enemies. He says, rescue me, Lord, from evildoers. Protect me from the violent, who devise evil plans in their hearts and stir up war every day. They make their tongues, they make their tongues as sharp as serpents. The poison of vipers is on their lips. Keep me safe, Lord, from the hands of the wicked. Protect me from the violent, who devise ways to trip my feet. The arrogant have hidden a snare for me. They have spread out the cords of their net, and have set traps for me along my path. I say to the Lord, you are my God. Hear, Lord, my cry for mercy. Sovereign Lord, my strong deliverer. So, here he's kind of like King David is rebuking the enemy, the evildoers, because he understands that when a man is right in the word, when the man is right in holiness and righteousness, he will not torment other people. But who are these people who are tormenting? They are no one but in the evil spirits, demons, that have come into people to torment the just people, or to torment the people who are chosen by God. So David, out of his anguish, out of his frustration, out of his desperation, being a king, he goes before God, because he knows that the enemy, it says in the Bible, when an enemy comes like a flood, God will raise his standard. So he goes before God and he says, when these things are attacking me, God, I'm a king. I have like thousands of soldiers behind me, and commanders and horses and chariots who can fight. But this is not exactly a physical war. This is a war which is spiritual. So he understands why, because David spends a lot of time with God, in the presence of God, before the throne of God. So he's able to understand that his enemies are not just physical, but they're more of a spiritual problem. So then he pleads to God in Psalm 140, verse 6. He says, I say to the Lord, you are my God. Hear, Lord, my cry for mercy. Sovereign Lord, my strong deliverer, you shield my head in the day of battle. Do not grant the wicked their desires, Lord. Do not let their plans succeed. So he pleads to God. He says, with all this that is going on, Lord, I know that you are my only deliverer, that you are going to help me in the day of battle. And Psalm 140 verse 9 says, those who surround me proudly rear their heads. May the mischief of their lips engulf them. May burning coals fall on them. May they be thrown into the fire, into miry pits never to rise. May slanderers not be established in the land. May disaster hunt down the violent. So 9, 10, and 11 verses are all about people who use their mouths to defile the others, to bring down others, to gossip about others, to malign their character. So it says in the Bible, the tongue is, it's a very small organ in the body, but it can catch fire. So David recognizes this, and when a king is on the throne, he only hears good things, right? I mean, no one even dares to go and say, King David, this is a man who's been talking wrong about you, or that is a woman who's been talking wrong about you. No one would even dare to say things like that. But how does he know that these people are slanderers? How does he know that they're putting coals, that their lips engulf, that their lips are filled with mischief? And how does he know that they are slanderers? So, and he wishes that they be put down into the pits, and they be thrown into the fire, which is nothing but hell. And also he says about their lips engulfing them. And he also says in verse 11, may disaster hunt down the violent. So it's because he is filled with God's Spirit. He knows that in his court, in his kingdom, that people are there who are jealous of him, that people are there who are not right. See, one thing is, if a king is wicked, because of his wickedness, there might be a physical problem with few of them. But if a king is righteous, and if a king is trying to be holy, and if the king is doing everything that the Lord wants him to do, or for that matter, not just a king, but even just a man, what happens is, suddenly there is a revolt against that person who is godly, who is righteous, who's wanting to do everything the Lord wants him or her to do. Suddenly there's a revolt. Suddenly there's an attack on him. And King David, being a king, he has so much opposition and so much of violence. Again, I mean, people show so much of violence and so much of hatred against him. Why? Because he carries the light of God. And when people carry the light of God, folks, the people who are dark or who are filled with darkness or who are evil or wicked, they cannot tolerate this. And not only do they they cannot keep quiet. What they do is, in retaliation to their irritation, they attack the just, they attack the righteous. So this is exactly what is happening with King David. And how many times do we see the same thing happening to us too? People who are walking in the Lord, people who are being right, people who are trying to be holy, people who are trying to be righteous and all that, lot of problems come to them, lot of problems, lot of troubles, lot of, like, from nowhere, it's like those problems and troubles are like ocean. I have faced that many times. And one thing I have learned from that God will raise a standard against these folks. And he has been doing. He's been giving me success in every battle, victory in every battle, fighting my battles. And he's showing me that he's a great God. And he's showing me that he's a good God. And he's a mighty God, that he will support the righteous. He will be with the just. So when King David prayed this in Psalm 140, he also seeks he's also pacified, and he knows the Spirit of God. In Psalm 140:12, he says, I know that the Lord secures justice for the poor. Was King David poor? No, he was not poor. But why did he say he was poor? Because in spirit, in physical form, because there was, when a person, as I said before, is just and right and, trying to do everything the Lord wants him to do, there's lots of opposition and all that. When that happens, people just crumble down, their spirits just go low. So he's talking in terms of being poor as a person in spirit, not in riches or honor or kingdom or anything like that. And he says, and he upholds the cause of the needy. And this is also for the lay people that he's also talking about in spirit, because he feels that not only does a king feel this way, but also any other person who's right in the Lord is, comes into this category. Surely the righteous will praise your name, and the upright will live in your presence. So David again justifies the works of God here. He says, surely, Lord. Surely means very, very, it's an affirmation. It's an affirmation to definitely happening it. It's an affirmation. It's like for sure. It's like 100% that's going to happen. So surely is a word used in affirmation. Like, it's almost like children who say, promise or God promise, which are not supposed to use, but it's something like that. Surely meaning definitely, like it's all out there. Like, you don't need any big reasons to justify it. It's going to happen. It's already there, and it's an affirmation. So the righteous will praise your name, and the upright will live in your presence. So he's justifying the works of God here. So it's I feel, and in my opinion, and what the Spirit of God is also leading me to say is, it's not at all bad to say anything to the wicked. Meaning, what I mean is that you can oppose them, you can say the right things that they are doing. I mean, you can say the harmful things that they are doing to you in the right way, but not harm them in the way they are harming you. This way, what you're telling God in prayer, what I mean is in prayer. If it comes to that, you can tell people also to pray for you with all the facts. So in prayer, before God, what is prayer? Prayer is nothing but a conversation with God. So in prayer, if you go before God and say, just like how King David had wished that his enemies would die, that they would be in the pits, that they would have burning coals on them, that they would be thrown into fire and into miry pits, never to rise again. All those things, I mean, God is also a relationship God. Why? Because Jesus came on this earth to understand you and me, the pain that we go through every day, and he took more pain than we do. So because of this, David is openly telling God about what is happening. I feel that should be also our cry when the enemies come to attack us, when the enemies are attacking us. Enemies are no one but they can be our own family, they can be our friends, they can be our neighbors, they can be our people around us, they can be people in business, in profession, in any form, any sort, any ways, any sizes and any shapes and all that. Why? Because the enemy doesn't say, oh, I will only choose Christians to attack Christians, or the Hindus to attack Christians, or the vice versa and things like that. He uses everyone, right? Immediately the best hold that he has is on the family. He uses family against family, so that the outsider will not say, oh look, it's not somebody else who's coming, who's treating them bad or who's harming them, let's go and rescue them. It's not that. They feel, oh, it's a family problem, so let's not even go into that. So even in a family, when murders happen, the outsiders will not take any interest. That's how much cunning the devil is. That's how much cunning and perverse and pervert the Satan is. He doesn't allow other people to come and rescue in your problems. Why? Because he makes them think that it is your family is hurting you. That means it's just a family problem, not the others. But not so the case before God. Not so the case. Whoever might it be, maybe a family, maybe a friend, or maybe in profession, or maybe a colleague, or anybody, doesn't matter. But in the sight of God, the justice prevails, as how King David said. He said, in same Psalm 140:12, he says, I know that the Lord secures justice for the poor. Why? Because people who are attacked like this are usually very poor. Don't we say, oh poor thing, I don't understand why that happened to her. Oh poor thing, I don't understand why this happened to him. So poor meaning in a spirit level, not in a physical level. So this is how the spiritual side is that we need to understand, and this is how we need to put before God and have God deal with our enemies. And one day, folks, and it's not like 10 years or 20 years, where every day God reprimands the wicked, God corrects the wicked, God shows injustice. But in their wickedness, they don't want to show that they're being harmed by God, that they're being persecuted, that they're being actually slapped by God. They do not want to show that because they're so much filled with pride. What did Satan do? When he fell from heaven, he took his beauty was shed. Lucifer was the most beautiful angel in heaven. His beauty was shed, and he became so demonic, so evil, that his whole body became very ugly. And even then at the time of falling, when he saw his body, he did not feel anything bad. He just said, I'm going to do this. And not only, and why, what is the proof that he did not feel anything bad about his body, that it has become deformed and it has become ugly? He takes other angels too, the 2/3 of the angels in heaven, and he brings them down to become like him. So what does that mean? He's not feeling sorry for himself at all. He's just being prideful. So on the earth, when these demonic spirits have invaded the earth and have gone into people, and people also exhibit the same thing, that I don't remember, but I read in the Bible, that you can Google and see, that people who make idols will become like idols. So, and people who and live like idols. So it's the same thing. Whatever they choose to obey, people, whatever people choose to obey, whatever people choose to worship, that is what they will be. Right people, godly people, good people, want to obey God, the living God, the sacred God, the holy God, and they try to live like Him, at least in some ways. But people who don't believe God, or they don't want to be in the presence of God, they turn to evil ways. They do witchcraft. They become their idol. They worship idols. They do witchcraft. They do black magic. They do sorcery. They do lots of other things, which the devil wants them to do. So, and then they become deviated from God. So here in Psalm 140, King David pleads with God and he finds justice there. And this is what I wanted to talk about today, that when we plead with God, God surely comes to help us, because He's a God of justice. So thank you for listening to this message, and Shalom.